22-17 victory over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They now go to 5-3 in the first half of the season, and clearly a tougher slate. I don't want to overstate that, though, as some people have done. It is a tougher slate. The teams coming up in the second half of the season right now have a combined record of 34. I believe it's 34-30 and a couple of ties thrown in there. I know Cincinnati's got one. I think there's 2 ties in there, but a tick above 500. And the teams that they've played in the first 8 games of the season have a winning percentage of, I believe it's 370. It's below 40%. So you're obviously going up a bit, but let's not overstate it and act like they're playing, the Seahawks 8 weeks in a row in the second half of the season. There's plenty of challenges, that's for damn sure. There's plenty of winnable games, but there's a lot of challenges. I mean, the seasons get deeper. Injuries come on, as we've seen. I think one of the reprieves for the Browns will be getting Josh Gordon back. He's not going to just drop in. I know some people are thinking crazy numbers. He's not just going to drop in and do video game stuff. He's going to have to be integrated back into the offense, but he's instantly a weapon. He's instantly going to add some credibility there offensively. Cameron's tricky, man, because he's already, we know he's out for at least he's out for Cincy. No way he's playing in Cincinnati. Maybe beyond that, too. I know they got the stretch of like 10 games, 10 days, but I don't know. Even if so, 3 concussions, less than 2 years, that's trouble. And the NFL and the Browns may have to keep him on the shelf for a little bit longer than you would expect. I don't know that it's a guarantee. I'm not trying to be gloom and doom, but I don't know that it's a guarantee that Jordan Cameron sees the field again this regular season. So we'll see. I mean, right now it's way beyond that. It's not like that's a guarantee or anything, but it's going to be something to be monitored because, as you know, when you get one, you can get another, and then you can quickly, you don't want to have 3 and 18 months as a danger zone there. We were talking about that a bit last week. But I think Barnage and Dre, I love those guys, by the way, have done a good job of getting themselves in there and replacing Cameron the best you can, but still you're not replacing Jordan Cameron. But anyways, so I do think that's a bit of a reprieve coming on that. You've got tough situations no matter what, because 5 of the final 8 are going to be on the road. You have to go to Atlanta and deal with that. You've obviously got the Ravens at the end of the season there. We know you got Cincinnati twice, Houston, Buffalo, Carolina. Those are all games that you can win, all games that you can lose too, man. And it depends on where the teams are when you run into them, where the Browns are when you run into them as well. That all matters. And we've seen the difference here this season, week to week, in how these teams show up against each other yesterday. And I know that San Francisco is definitely not San Francisco of the last few years, but St. Louis, if for some weeks they come out there and look like they're a completely different team, and then some weeks they go out there against San Francisco and Seattle and they win. So it's just, really, we've seen this season in the NFL more than any other, the ins and outs of what can happen from week to week and how these teams can look different from week to week throughout the just literally one week to the next. The good teams, the bad teams, all of that. We've seen it. But getting into the Browns game yesterday, and of course, Brian Hoyer, LG was talking about that when he called in and we were bringing him up, good and bad. And in the second half, definitely much better. You could see he got dialed in. I believe he was at 11 in a row at one point and had really gotten his accuracy back in the second. He was taking some shots too. I'll tell you, McCoy, they were dialing up the middle and just eating Nick McDonald's lunch yesterday, brother. They were up the middle of that defense like crazy. So there was just a sieve. There were a couple of plays where, and a couple of them made, one of them was right around the timing when the booing began towards Hoyer there on the after one of the plays where he gets barreled in by a guy and barely gets the pass off, avoids a bad sack, avoids a bad play, and I'm like, come on, man, get out of here. I'll tell you, it's amazing to see that, but you're gonna have that. That was one of the things that comes when they made the mistake that they did in how they went about things earlier this year with their drafting, and they're paying the price for that. And unfortunately, it's going to continue all season long. I think it's amazing. I think it's an amazing thing to watch here in Cleveland after what this team's been through. But hey, like I said, man, gotta get them rims on the car that won't start, brother. Gotta get them rims on the car that won't stop. Meanwhile, in the second half, things were looking ugly. It was bogged down. Browns couldn't get the ball in the end zone early on in the game, and doing some field goaling and all of that stuff. It's an ugly game. Mike Evans, we talked about the advantage that he would have, and all of those receivers there with their size talked about that coming in, and they were able to utilize that a bit. Evans looked good, 7 for 124, 2 touchdowns, Rainey, 87 yards on the ground, but most of that came in the first half. I don't have the first half split, but I want to say a large chunk of that came in the first half of that game. The Browns definitely did a much better job in the second half defensively there. Really, they only got those couple of good passing plays there. Browns defense came up big. Tayshaun Gibson's been doing his thing. Joe Hayden as well, starting to play, starting to get out there and do his thing, man. And again, it's the competition level as well. But you can go back to a couple of weeks ago when the heat was really on Joe Hayden for being overrated in the media. He has definitely stepped up his game a bit there. And you know what? Maybe you do get some of that complacency that comes with being the big man on campus, with being whatever, getting paid, getting comfortable, that's what I mean by that, having that comfort zone of being the man within the locker room and all of that. And, I don't know, maybe getting called out. But regardless, he's definitely stepped up his play a bit, and that's going to be needed for the Browns coming down the stretch. But, that running in the first half by Tampa, having their way with the Browns defensively there, that's something that's got to continue to be stopped. As a team, Tampa, 113 on the ground. They still averaged over 4 yards a carry against this defense, regardless of how much of that came in which part of the game. Meanwhile, the Browns, I was mentioning at least West, got a little bit going for himself, ended up with about 50 or 48 yards on the ground, averaged 3 yards a carry, which is double the Browns average. Even though that's paltry, it's double the Browns average as a team here. Tate, 10 carries, 3 yards. I mean, as we saw, he just could not get anything going there. And I know the question. I've seen it thrown at me. I had a lot of people send it to me overnight. Where was the crow? Clearly, this was a couple of week thing with Mike Pettin. And I get you got to protect the football. And, I get that part of the thought process is not just teaching Isaiah Crowell that you got to protect the football in order to keep getting your reps, but it also reflects on other guys on the team because they go, hey man, remember what happened to Crow? He put the ball on the ground. He didn't play for 3 weeks. So I get that. But man, there were a couple of times that when we were down on the goal line and they couldn't get the 1 yard, I'm like, the Crow needs to be, that's his situation. He to punch that thing in. That was frustrating to me too as well. And I've asked about that 2 weeks now here. I understand their explanation. And the same thing, a lot of you have said, well, we need to know about the clock management at the end of the first half. I'm going to say I'm not going to call out the Browns for bad clock management because I believe they managed it the way they wanted to. I just think it was a bad decision the way they decided. Basically, they showed no faith in themselves offensively there, and they didn't want to put their defense back on the field even for one play. That's what I mean. I'm not saying – what I mean is I don't think that they accidentally – let 36 seconds, whatever it was, tick off the clock there. I think they made a bad strategic decision, maybe not expecting to convert that third down and get the first down, and then by the time you do, you ate way too much of that time off of the clock. But that, I believe it was a decision they made. I don't believe that they stood around going, hey, should we call timeout? That's the way some people would want to frame that argument. I don't think that's it. I just think they strategically made a bad decision. Then they got the first down and said, well, damn, if we'd have known we were going to do that, we could have tried a couple more shots here at the end zone, and they ended up taking the field goal and calling it a day there. But I think that was more what it was. I really don't think that it was simply a matter of nobody. No, I mean, if anything, Brian Hoyer would have, I mean, he was clearly being told not to take a timeout because he was looking around. You could see him coming off the field. His reaction was to take a timeout as well, just watching the body language. So clearly that was the decision. I think they were just afraid that they weren't going to get the first down and that they did not, under any circumstances, want to put their defense back out there for any type of a long pass because of those tall receivers. Next thing you know, you get a pass interference, and you give the team a free field goal or a free shot at the end zone or something like that. So I just think if they hadn't just taken the sack, maybe they'd do that differently. But as soon as they took the sack, they said, 3rd and 16, we're not going to get this here. And then they end up completing the 16-yard pass and going, well, damn, I guess if we'd have known that was going to happen, we may have played this differently. So I just think they didn't have faith in their offense. I don't think it was mismanaged clock. I think it was just a bad decision by the coaching staff. But it's easy to say that because they got it. Because had they thrown the traditional 9-yard pass when you need 16, then you would have looked at it differently. But went into halftime, came out second half. Second half was back and forth. Obviously, Browns got on first. They scored the touchdown. First touchdown pass there from Hoyer in the second half. A really good drive, too. 11 plays, 80 yards. But you know what? Tampa came right back, and they came back quick. It was a 3-play drive. Boom, 25-yard pass to Mike Evans, and he caught his second one of the game. Both of them were exactly 24-yard touchdown passes there, and that came on a quick one. Then there was nothing all the way through, back and forth. We had the blocked punt, which was big. Like I said, you had the blocked field goal early, blocked punt big. I will say this. I like to give guys credit, just like I bash guys. Chris Tabor, man. They may not get any returns, and they're not even trying, by the way. They're not even trying to return kicks anymore. They're just throwing their hands up and going, you know what? Wherever that thing bounces, that's where we're going to take the ball. Have you guys ever seen anything like that before? We have just said we're not returning punts anymore. We're just gonna let it go. We've got 2 guys to block. We don't have anybody back to return. The hell with it, man. Things haven't been going well in the kick return game. But anyways, but they are getting some of those other ones. It's now third time in a couple of weeks that they've gotten a big special teams block, 2 in one game. That one there is definitely pretty rare to get the blocked punt and the blocked field goal in the same game there. As a matter of fact, I've got the stat somewhere. I'll pull it up. It's been quite a long time since the Browns had accomplished a feat like that. Matter of fact, the blocked field goal alone, I think we're 30-some years since the last time the Browns had done that. We'll talk about that when we come back. Let's take a break. Get you some news. Get John McMullen from the Sports Network here. We'll keep talking about this. Browns in the second half pull away. Couple of touchdown passes from Brian Hoyer. They hold on at the end of the game there, able to get the stop on that last drive. They were trying to just get the first down. Couldn't. Had to go back on defense one more time. And defense able to get that offensive pass interference call there and able to save the day there, end of thing there. And even then, holding your breath until the final second. But they did come out with the victory. As I said, listen, man, there's a tough slate coming up. It starts with Cincinnati, man. There's a lot of challenges, and we'll be talking about that in a minute. Second half of the season is going to be no cake ride at all. But you still have to sit back and go, well, hot damn, man. They have still won as many games in the first half of this season as they have in any season except one since they've come back. As well, home games as well. Say what you want, but it's part of the ticket you pay. It increases the experience to win those games at home, and they've done that as well here too. And I know, I get all the Hoyer arguments. Sometimes I'm a Hoyer guy, and I watch the game going, man, damn. But then I watch some other plays, and I go, see, man, I'll deal with one to get the other, man, because at the end of the day, you find a way to get it done. That's the thing, man. It's just, that's intangible. That's what that means. It's something that you can't explain that makes the thing happen, Captain. We'll talk about that when we come back. Let's get John McMullen's thoughts on this. Talk to you as well. I'll open the phone lines up a little bit later on in the show. Keep it rolling. Facebook, Twitter, email, facebook.com/thesportsfix. Tweet with us at thesportsfixcle. Email us, thesportsfix@AOL.com. When we come back, John McMullen from the Sports Network joins us talking Browns, talking the entire slate of the NFL here, and we'll talk all of that with John after the news next on The Fix.
You unlock this door with the key of imagination. Beyond it is another dimension. A dimension of sound. A dimension of mind. You're moving into a land of both shadow and substance, of things and ideas. You've just crossed over into
The Sports Fix. We'll be right back.